What is up, everyone? My name is Brady, and this is Be All In Picks. Today, we are talking about UFC Edmonton. We have a great fight card here. We have Edmonton Moreno taking on Albazi in the main event. We have some great preliminary matches, which is what I'm going to be discussing today. In this first match, we're going to go ahead and jump right into this first match. This first match, we have Jack Shore, 17-2, taking on Yusuf Zalal, 15-5-1. You know, as I'll break down this match, and I think this is going to be a size and a speed disadvantage here for Jack Shore. I know that a lot of people are on that Zalal side, but there are definite reasons why. Jack Shore is 3-5 out of his last five. He is a very solid fighter. He showed some great durability in that Joe Anderson Brito fight. He was withstanding his punches. Doing a good job of defending everything that Brito was coming at him with and withstanding the storm. But in the end, he did get caught with a leg kick that ended up cutting up that shin pretty bad, and the doctor stoppage on that fight. So overall, Jack Shore's a decent striker. He's not the best I've ever seen, but he's above average, and he will use that striking to get into the takedowns. But in this match in particular, Yusuf Zalal, 5-5 or 5 wins out of his last 5 matches. He's had some great matches here recently in the UFC on his second stint. He's fought some tough competition in his last one as well. But in this these last matches against Jarno Aarons and Billy Quarantillo, he really showed that he's coming back a little renewed, coming back with a little bit more fire. And this time, I do think that he's going to continue that winning streak. I think it's going to be a close match. So, again, we'll talk about this betting side a little bit later. I know a lot of people heavily are on the Zalal side, betting him straight up, and they're betting him in parlays, which I don't necessarily disagree with, but come a little bit closer to the fight time, we may have a little bit different take, but ultimately I would go Zalal by decision in this one. I just think he's going to be the stronger fighter out of these two. I think he's going to be able to get it done. Okay, this next match, we have Jamie Lynn Horth, the 6-1 Jamie Lynn Horth taking on the 7-1 Ivana Petrovic. This is going to be a decent match. In this one, I see on Tapology that a lot of people are picking Petrovic to win this match, but on the other hand, Horth, I believe she is the favorite in this match. Yeah, she's a moderate favorite, -200 favorite right now, according to Tapology, but she has won her last 4 or 5. Her last match was the loss that she had to Veronica Hardy, which was a split decision, but I think Horth is a good fighter. I think she's a decent fighter. She's all around, has some decent pressure style skills. She strikes. It seems like she strikes to initiate the clinch, heavy grappling, and she also shows the ability to control on the ground. So overall, when I watch Petrovic, I think that can be taken down. She looks like she can be controlled on the ground a little bit. And Horth, I think, is going to have that heavier pressure on the ground. And if she gets it to the ground, I believe that she's going to end up, laying and preying on her, doing what little damage she can. And then it's basically a control game from there. I think this is going to be a decision match. But I am going to side with Jamie Lynn Horth. I think she's going to be the better fighter out of these two. I don't have a lot to say about this one. I do think the safer play out of this one, we'll talk about the betting side again later, but I think the betting side, this fight's going to go long. But I am going to take Jamie Lynn Horth by decision on this one. We will go ahead and move on to the next. This next fight, we have Chad and Helliger versus Cody Gibson. This is a fight I'm not too interested in it. I probably won't do a lot of betting on this fight in particular. Just looking at what we're seeing down here, 37 years old for both of these guys. I think Cody Gibson is going to be the more experienced fighter. He had his stints on The Ultimate Fighter. That competition kind of molds you in a certain way, and I think that in this case, just that 4-inch reach advantage right there, and him being able to having that wrestling base, him being able to use his wrestling, I think that's the only way that Henniger is going to win this matchup is if he can get it to the ground, which I don't necessarily think that he's going to get it to the ground. With that reach advantage and that height advantage, I don't, even though I don't think that necessarily always plays into it, I think in this case it's going to play into it because Cody Gibson is a good wrestler. He does have good takedown defense. So overall, I'm going to make this one quick on this. I'm going to pick Cody Gibson. Again, both of these guys are pretty durable, but I'm going to give Gibson a little bit of that edge, and I'm going to say that he's going to have a knockout in round 2. I'm going to say Cody Gibson by knockout, round 2. I think that's a good way to go. But again, not saying that I'm going to. All right, this next match. Again, we have a really good, well put together match right here. Sirhi Sidhi versus Garrett Armfield. This is going to be a good match. Again, both these guys are very well balanced strikers. Sidhi does have the ability to take it down to the ground, but in this matchup in particular, I was noticing in the last matchup that Sidhi he faced Ramon Tavares, and he kept eating over and over again. He kept eating the jab. Straight jab, straight jab, straight jab, right down the middle, right down the middle. It was tearing him apart, but he ended up getting the decision, which in this matchup also, I do think this one's going long again, unless there's like a Garrett Armfield miracle knockout or something like that, which I don't think that's going to happen. I think Sidhi is a very tough fighter, and he's going to come at you with a lot. He's going to come at you with pressure. He's going to get you up against the fence. He's going to try and strike leading into the clinch. But Armfield, even though he is the undersized fighter out of these two, he's a little bit more of that pit bull type. He does have that straight jab. I noticed one of his fights, he pumps it right down the middle. So with him, I honestly think, unless the judges come into play on this one, which they definitely could, because Sidhi is going to be the hometown hero here. He's going to be the hometown boy. But I do think Garrett Armfield is going to be my pick for this one. I'm on the decision side because both of these fighters are so tough. But I am going to go Armfield by decision here. I think he's just going to have enough to get it done. Again, the only way I see this changing a little bit is if he gets that hometown advantage right there with the judging. But I do think it's going to the decision. But I'm going to take Garrett Armfield. All right, next up we have Alexander Romanov taking on Rodrigo Nascimento, the battle of the big boys. Heavyweight fights. Remember, anything can happen. But in this particular fight, I feel like Romanov is going to have a power advantage in the beginning. If Rodrigo Nascimento, which he has proven that he has been able to withstand an early onslaught in most cases, if he can withstand that early onslaught, I think that he's going to be able to, in the later rounds, take over, because as we've seen time and time again, Romanov has no gas tank. He came in to the last match, and I expected more out of him. I think he kind of looked like a fat slob. Going to be quite honest, I was not impressed with the way he looked. But all in all, it's not a looks contest. But he was choked out by Yelton Almeida pretty quick. So I don't know. I'm not a big fan of his. I think that in the end, that the loss to Derek Lewis proves a lot more to me, just for the simple fact that you at least went a little bit later. So I put a little bit more on it than what I saw out of Romanov the last match. So in this one, again, anything can happen in a heavyweight match, but I do think Rodrigo is going to get it done in the later rounds. I'm actually going to say that he's going to get it done by ground and pound in the third round, because I think Romanov is going to be too gassed to go anymore. And Nascimento has proven that he actually can uptick in the later rounds. He gets a little bit of that burst when you get that adrenaline rush, knowing that you may have the fight in your hands, seeing the other opponent over there that's looking sluggish, if you can drain that out of him, get him to the ground, possibly wear on that for first 2 rounds, and then ground and pound in the 3rd round. That's the way I see this one going. I think Rodrigo Nascimento by ground and pound in the 3rd round is the way I'm going to go. All right, next up we have Charles Air Jourdain versus Victor Henry. This match, I'm pretty excited to see this match, but I'm more excited because of the betting side of it. Right now, you've got almost near even odds on these two, and to me, I know that Victor Henry is a dog. I bet on him the first match that I saw him in the UFC when he took on Honi Barsalos. I was all over him as a dog. I think he was a -3 or a +300 or something along those lines. So I am definitely a fan of Victor Henry, but in this matchup, look, I'm going to put a lot into the fact that there's a wide age gap here in this bantamweight division, which he may be jumping up to featherweight for this one. I believe, he's going to be jumping up to featherweight for this one, which again, he's jumping up to featherweight. He's already going to be a little bit undersized, which it's not going to be a huge difference there. But when I look at the competition that Jourdain has faced, when he is the losses that he's taken are, in my opinion, to top-notch fighters in that division already. With Nathaniel Wood, you've got Sean Woodson, you've got John Silva. I mean, that guy's an animal. He took him on not too long ago. The one thing that I am concerned about is just the fact that he was knocked out 3 months ago. That's always a concern. But I'm not too impressed with who Victor Henry's beat, honestly. Gravely, yes, that's a good win. But if you shut down his takedown defense, it doesn't leave much on the back end. So I'm not putting too much into it. Ultimately, I think this is Charles Jourdain all the way. In this one, just because the durability, again, a lot of these fights I see going to decision, but again, in the durability for both of them is pretty high. I'm going to go decision, but I'm going to go Jourdain, and he does have that home field advantage. So again, judges, you can never trust the judges in my eyes, but I think this one's I'm going to take Jourdain. Next up, Ariane Lipski versus Jasmine Jasdavicius. I'm going Jasmine Jasdavicius in this. I'm going to break this down really quick. Look, I think she's going to be the better grappler out of the two. I think the only way that Lipski is going to win is if she can possibly knock her out. But Jasmine has shown that she's got incredible toughness on the feet, and she can always get the fight to the ground. I believe she has taken down every single opponent that she has ever faced. Lipski, I do not believe, has the ability to do anything once Jasdavicius gets on top of her, other than possibly get up and get taken down again. So really quickly, I'm going Jasdavicius on this one. And I'm not going to break it down too much further. I may break this down a little bit further in the betting breakdown because I might have a little bet on this one. But ultimately, Jasdavicius by decision. All right, that brings us to the prelim closer, Aman Zahabi versus Pedro Munoz. I think this would have been a good fight, and I would have picked Pedro Munoz if this was a few years ago, possibly. But at this stage, knowing that Zahabi's going to have that home field advantage, I could see it going long for sure. But ultimately, I think Zahabi is going to find a way to get him out. Most likely, I see it. If it's going to happen, I think it's going to be by submission. So I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say Zahabi gets it done by decision in this one. I just think Munoz has got too much mileage on his tires there, and even though they're close in age, I think Zahabi actually has room to grow. He's at TriStar Gym right now, and I think he's going to get it done in this one. So I may have a bet on this one. I think a lot of people are already siding with Zahabi in this one, but I may join them in this one and put a bet on this as well. But that is the betting breakdown for UFC Edmonton on the preliminary card. I will be back with some more on the main card later on, and then I'll break down my betting picks for you later on towards the fight. Hope you enjoyed. Hit like and subscribe, and let me know what you think. Peace out. Ballin'.